It was only days ago, the Tour of Switzerland, one of the world's major stage races. Andy Hampsten won here last year with a strong French team. Now he's back to prove he can do it again with his new American team. We're in the 9th day of this 10-day race. Hampsten is 12 seconds behind the overall leader. And this is the last critical mountain stage, and perhaps Hampsten's final chance to claim the yellow jersey.
By this stage of the race, there were only 2 teams left in contention for final victory. The Panasonic team from Holland and the 7-Eleven team from the United States. It was soon evident that the Panasonic team were not going to let Andy Hampsten out of their sight, and they hoped to put Peter Winnen ahead to gain the 8 seconds he was behind. The team chose to keep the pace high and prevent the surprise attack, forcing Hampsten to follow while most of the rest fell behind. In fact, the Panasonic's tactics had knocked out everyone except Hampsten as the last climb began. Then, with half a mile to go to the finish, Winnen took his chance because he knew that with the yellow jersey far behind, he needed just 8 seconds lead on Hampsten to head the race. Last year's winner, Andy Hampsten, wearing number 1, struggled to limit his sudden losses. He should have expected the move, but the Panasonic riders had played their ace, and time was running out for Hampsten. Approaching the finish, Winnen forced every ounce of energy out of his body. A second extra now could make all the difference between the lead and second place. After Winnen crossed the line, Hampsten, third in this group, is only a few seconds behind him. But how many?
How many indeed? Did Peter Winnen pick up the time he needed, or did Hampsten hold on? 8 seconds had separated them this morning, but for the moment at least, Winnen and Hampsten were more concerned with something far more basic, like catching their breath. And the finish had been so close that nobody really knew who would take the lead.
Well, they weren't giving much information up here on the radio.
But one thing was certain. Yesterday's leader, Dietrich Terral, was too far back to hold the yellow jersey. But who would get it, Hampsten or Winnen?
Good job. You do your best.
First word back was that Hampsten didn't have enough to take the yellow jersey. At least that was the unofficial word from his coaches.
7 seconds? Yeah, they just watched. We don't know the exact time. Just on our watches. We don't know where they took the time.
Hey, you want to wait here? I'm going to go down to the finish line.
It's within a couple seconds.
Moments later, the official results came in. Hampsten had become the overall leader by 1 second.
Yeah. Well, that's all right.
Good job, buddy. Thanks, Raul. All right. All right. Oh, yeah.
Let's go.
He would carry the yellow jersey into the last day, but a 1 second lead against a powerful Panasonic team was certainly not a margin of comfort. The next and last day of racing promised to be an all-out war.
Oh, I mean, tomorrow we got our work cut out for us. A lot of work.
Okay. This is like a smaller road. That's a really small road.
Races are certainly not won by chance. Like any team's strategy and planning are essential. The Americans established their game plan for the final race.
Panasonic has no other chance except winning. So they're going to help control the race at the front because they're not going to let Parla go. They're not going to let Giovanetti go. They're not going to let anybody go except Terral or Winnen, because they're going to try and get their second as we're coming into Zurich. And it might get really rough in this first sprint. It might get really rough at that point. So, Bob, you need to be the policeman for Andy and be right with him and don't take any crap from anybody. And make it known, you know, that we're not going to get boxed in and boxed out, and we're going to protect Andy to the fullest. And, Jeff, is your bike pretty close to Andy's measurement-wise?
Yeah, it's real close.
Okay, well, you got to remember, you got to sacrifice your bike if he has a flat, any problems. That means you have to ride close to Andy all day. If we let them control the pace and get the lead there, we're sunk. Because, you know, it'll be in the city, it'll be winding, and we'll be sunk.
Nestled high in the Alps, something more of a street fight is about to begin.
if anybody tries to get rough with Andy, then we're not going to stand for it as a team, and especially myself.
A special sprint will give the first across this line a precious 10-second bonus.
If I'm in the position to go for the gold sprint for the 10 seconds, then I'll try to take it away from winning.
That 10-second bonus would mean a victory for winning, and Coach Peter Post knows it.
The race not so hard today. No mountains.
We're in the 20th century. It'll be nuclear. It'll be pretty bad.
Just as Mike Neal, 7-Eleven's coach, predicted, the blue jerseys of Panasonic were soon in action to achieve their main objective, to help Peter Winnen take the bonus sprint that carried 10 seconds. The 7-Eleven strategy was a simple one, because they knew that if they could prevent Winnen from taking the sprint, then Hampsten would win the race by that single second he gained the previous day. Panasonic manager Peter Post was near the referees, checking on the positions of Winnen and Hampsten. As the sprint line approaches, Jonathan Bowyer speaks to Hampsten. Encouragement or strategy? Has Panasonic picked up a new team rider? Winnen seems to have found a new ally. This is the time when the blood pressure increases as the riders, after 1,000 miles, think not of the finish, but of an innocuous line midway through the day that would decide this 10-day race. Australian Alan Piper was the man Panasonic chose to build the speed up to its maximum as the sprint line approached. Then, with Piper and Turau drafting Winnen, it seemed that Hampsten was about to lose the Tour. In a battle usually reserved for the great finishes of the world's major races, Winnen burst to the front, but on the right, 7-Eleven's Ron Kiefel makes a last effort. The photo finish showed he'd won by 2 inches. This had turned out to be the greatest and the hardest day in the life of the 7-Eleven team. All they had to do now was keep an eye on Winnen, and their finest hour would arrive.
All that awaited now was a Zurich Velodrome and a ceremonial final lap. Andy Hampsten and his 7-Eleven teammates had held on to that slim 1-second lead and were now able to enjoy their finest hour.
All right, John. Yeah. Hooray, buddy.
And when Hampsten donned the yellow jersey for the second year in a row, the victory belonged as much to his team. The Americans were no longer rookies in Europe. They had won their first stage race and had gained the respect of the cycling establishment, perhaps their most important weapon for the upcoming Tour de France. And a victory for Andy Hampsten on this year's tour no longer seems that far-fetched.
This victory is very significant because I think it is the first time an American on an American team won a really major stage race or even a major race. And I think it's a big stepping stone, and it shows America that we can do it as a team.
And teamwork made it happen when Ron Kiefel nipped Peter Winnen to prevent him from grabbing the 10-second sprint bonus. The victory Kiefel's as much as Hampsten's.
I saved the race. There's no doubt about it. If I wouldn't have been there, Winnen would have got the sprint. But, that's why we were all up there.
No one could beat us. I think it's really cool that last year I won this, the first American to win it, but this year I came back with an American team, and it's really proven that right now cycling's an American sport. It's no longer an outside sport.
We'll find out if an American team can win the ultimate struggle, the Tour de France. And 4 weeks from tomorrow, we'll be here in Paris with the answer. For Phil Liggett, I'm John Dockery. Bad for the Tour de France.